Hey folks, Glenn from Brew City Barbecue, and I'm going to go kind of low tech today and not use the GoPro. I'm just going to use my phone. Today I'm doing a Texas brisket. I'm trying to stay as traditional as possible. So the rub is salt and pepper, roughly a half and half ratio. So I trimmed it last night. I'm not great at trimming briskets, and also my good knives are at my parents'. Everything's at my parents' house. So I had to sharpen a knife that I have, and it did okay, but not great. So kind of a hack job. So I did that last night because I knew I wasn't going to have any energy whatsoever this morning to trim. It's one of the few things I just despise doing in barbecue is trimming briskets, even though I love cooking briskets. So I put a little bit of olive oil on. I mean, just a very little, and rubbed it around just to give me a binder. Because this sat in the fridge last night and kind of, I wouldn't say dried up, but the surface dried up. So I'm going to put that on. I assume it's probably going to take 10 to 12 hours. And I waited because I was waiting for some post oak, and that showed up yesterday. So I've got some true post oak logs. I got some charcoal going, and I've got the logs in, and they're getting started. I want those to burn a little bit before I put the brisket on, and that's what's been happening. Just because sometimes when you put it in right away, the logs kind of burn some stuff off, like the bark and whatnot, and it can kind of, I don't know. I mean, you're going to put logs in later anyway, so I guess it's not a great theory. But yeah, so I'm going to put this on, and we'll check back in a couple hours. As you can hear, it's pretty early in the morning. Our local church likes to wake everybody up at 6 in the morning. So, all right, so the brisket is on. And this is why I love this smoker so much, is that you've got a lot of surface area. So, as you can see, I'm keeping it a little bit away from the opening so that things don't singe. I put it on point side toward the fire, since that's going to need more heat anyway, since it's thicker. I'm trying to do this as quote-unquote traditional Texas as possible. So I'm doing only the salt and pepper on the rub, post oak wood, and using an actual like Texas-style side firebox. So I'll get the probes in, and we'll start looking at it. Going up to a temperature of, I think it's 203. I have to look it up again. But yeah, we'll see how long this takes. I expect it'll probably take 10 to 12 hours. This is only about a 12-pound brisket, so it's not too bad. All right, we're just over 2 hours into the cook on the Texas brisket, so let's take a look. Oh yeah, looking good. Getting some color already. I just put a couple more logs on since the temp's getting a little bit lower in the smoker. So obviously I'll close the lid. So far so good. It smells great. You can smell it even at the front of the house, and yeah. We'll check back in a couple hours. Alright guys, we've been on for around 6 hours so far, and I'm actually going to turn the brisket 180 degrees because the flat side is getting about 25 to 30 degrees hotter right now. So I'm just going to turn it. Wow. That's looking pretty amazing. So that's about 6 hours. We're doing good on temp. I don't think it's going to take 12 hours unless the stall happens and lasts a long time. But yeah, that is looking really good right now. So I'll make sure to tip it too, just to get rid of some of that liquid. Smells good too. So everything's been on about, I'd say 8 or 10 hours now. I forget what time it is. I'm having a lot of problems with keeping this post oak actually burning. It just wants to like kind of sit there and like smolder. I don't know if it's wet, if it's damp, or if that's just the way the post oak burns. So I'm having a hard time keeping the grill temperature up. Like right now it's running at 192 because I just got everything going. But I don't know how well you'll be able to see it because of the sun and its position, but there we go. That's after probably 7 or 8 hours right now. I think it's 8 hours. So I bought some butcher paper. I'm not sure if I'm gonna wrap it or not. I probably should because I think it's getting pretty smoky. Uh, I just don't know if the paper I got is wide enough to wrap this successfully without it leaking. So we'll see what happens. All right, I put this up for a vote on the Char Griller Facebook group, whether or not to wrap it or not. So you see a lot of people in Texas actually wrap with foil, or nowadays it seems like it's butcher paper. So I actually did buy a roll of butcher paper, and it was funny. I was worried because originally, as you can see, I thought it was kind of thin, and I wouldn't be able to seal it up on all the sides. And then I watched a couple of YouTube videos today and noticed that a lot of people were overlapping it. So I've actually got 2 sheets here. So I can't really film wrapping or whatever because I need both my hands and I'm holding my phone. But I'm going to wrap it for the last couple of hours. And it's looking nice. It's looking really nice. Smelling good too. Alright, so we're about 12 hours in. As you can see, I actually pulled the charcoal tray out just a little bit to give it more air. I had a really hard time keeping temp with these post oak logs. But now that I've wrapped the brisket, I'm going nothing but charcoal just because I need heat more than smoke. I'll probably put a small log in there though, just in case. So almost getting to temp in the meat itself, as you can see. So after I stop recording, I'm going to turn it 180 degrees just to even the heat out a little bit. And this should be ready to go. It's getting close, and I think I'm past the stall. So I only have about 15, 16 degrees left to go before it's ready. All right, after 13 freaking hours, it's finally up to temperature. The post oak logs that I had, I think they were humid or they just weren't seasoned correctly. I'm not sure yet, but yeah, I could not get those things to burn very well. And in the end, I I just dumped a bunch of charcoal in there. After I wrapped it, there was no point in running very much wood anymore. So here we go. I'm I might have messed up the wrap a little bit when I rotated it 180 degrees. So all that good au jus I think might have dripped out. But it's my first time wrapping, so I got to learn how to do it. I'll get it inside, get it resting for an hour, and slice into it. And I'll show you what it looks like. So, as a little post-mortem for the Texas Brisket project, everything turned out really good. The flat dried out a little bit. It wasn't bad though, but I will say the flavor is spot on. Really, really good. It's I kind of liken it to if I made fresh beef jerky. That peppery goodness with kind of that salt in the background to kind of give it some more punch. I cheated a little bit and put some garlic powder in the rub as well, just to kind of. I love garlic powder in my rubs, so it dried out a little bit, but that was completely due to the fact that the post oak logs that I had were humid or something. They did not want to burn, and other than that, I mean, it was a long smoke. It took, I'd say, a good, I think, 13 hours to smoke, and that wasn't that big of a brisket. I've smoked much bigger. Uh, it's rare for me to have one dry out. It's been years since I've had one dry out at all. Down by the point, it's fine. I mean, you have that whole layer of fat that goes between the point and the flat, and that really kept things moist. But it really goes to show that no matter how much work you put into it, no matter how little mistakes you have. Because quite frankly, in my opinion, I did everything else right. What really ruined that smoke, though, and I wouldn't say ruined, but what affected that smoke negatively was the fact that the damn logs wouldn't burn. Every time I would check those post oak logs, they were just kind of smoldering. And I had to do a lot just to keep the heat up. And that was the biggest problem. I was getting plenty of smoke out of them because they were smoldering, but I wasn't getting enough heat. And the conditions yesterday were perfect. We didn't have very much humidity. There was nothing there that should have adversely affected it. It was literally the logs I had. So I'm using the post oak logs from, I think it's called B&B or BB. I've used their charcoal before, and quite frankly, I wasn't that impressed with their charcoal. It was mesquite charcoal, I remember, but which I hate mesquite. But I don't know. I Something was up with those logs, and they just did not want to burn. I ended up finishing after I wrapped it up. I ended up finishing with a hickory log and a ton of charcoal. Uh, I got the brisket up to temperature, which I was actually resigned to, if I got it close, I was going to take it off if that fire wasn't going to burn anymore because, quite frankly, I was out of charcoal. I ran out of charcoal last night. So, not the greatest brisket that I've ever done, obviously, but it's very tasty. And at the end of the day, that's the most important. I did have to use some barbecue sauce last night when I had some of that meat off the flat, just because there was a little bit of a dryness, and the sauce helps. Um, but I don't regret anything that happened. It's a great learning experience. What I need to do is learn how to recover a little bit better when you've got an issue like that, where the logs are uh, like wet or damp or whatever and don't want to burn. How to recover from that, and I I think I figured it out at the end of the day with the additional charcoal. But one thing is the side firebox on the char griller is kind of small when you compare it to kind of the more commercial or like the larger competition style stick burners. Um, Me using that vegetable basket that I do, I kind of, when I put it in the firebox, it doesn't actually fit because it's got these two curved bars on each end. There's one on each end, and it kind of hangs in there, it suspends in the firebox. And I think that really helped because that definitely affects airflow positively. But the last few hours, as you saw in the video, I pulled the tray out a little bit to allow air to come in, and that helped too. But even then, those logs just did not want to burn. And I was putting them on red hot charcoals. I was putting them, I was even putting, I've got those little tumbleweed starters, and they work really well, and they're all natural. They don't add any additional flavor. I was putting those in there just to get fire on the logs themselves because I don't have that big blowtorch thing that you see on TV all the time. So also as a note, I put it in fat side up. I'm a fat side up guy. I don't do fat side down. People have been debating that for years, and I don't know if there's a correct way. I don't think there's an accepted correct way, but there's different camps. I always do fat side up though, and I think that definitely helps over on the point side. So yeah, really fun project. I do like the flavor that you get from a Texas style rub. Salt and pepper. Even though I put a little bit of garlic powder in there, man, that salt and pepper, the smell, the taste, like even if you when you touch the meat to see how done it is, uh, it tasted like beef jerky, and I'm fine with that. I mean, when you think about Texas, you think about big steaks and big everything, and to me, Texas style brisket is just it's a big steak to them, and I think that's kind of where this whole style came from. I don't know, I'm just guessing, but I really liked it, and I'll definitely try it again. My wrapping was good initially, but I kind of screwed the wrap up afterwards when I was trying to. I wanted to rotate the brisket because your heat source is on one end. Sometimes, that end of the brisket that's closer to the fire is going to get more heat, and I wanted to rotate it to kind of even that out. And when I did, because I put the brisket in with the top of the wrapping at the bottom to hold it down, because if I did it the other way, it would have come up and then it would open up on the top. When I did that, I think because as you saw, I had to like use two sheets of wrap and put them on top of each other. I think I pulled one away and that's when a lot of the juice came out. So I need to work on that as well and make sure that I keep that seal, or not seal, but keep all the juices in there. Um, but it was a fun project, and I really recommend trying it out. I mean, the rub's easy: half pepper, half salt, and use granulated salt, iodized salt, or whatever. Don't use the big corns. Don't use like the big chunks of sea salt and that. I think that probably wouldn't work very well because you kind of want that salt to dissolve in the juices, and I think if you use the big corns, it's going to be crunchy, and I don't know if that would be a great texture for a brisket. So it was great, and I still have a lot of that rub left. So now, if I want to do another Texas style brisket, maybe I'll do it on the acorn next time, and then I can control the heat a lot better. So that'll be something down the road. I need to fix up my acorn before I use it again, and yeah, I highly recommend it. And if you guys have any questions, put comments in the video. Let me know what you think. I did this whole episode with my phone. I'm actually waiting for. I got a little tripod for the phone so I can use it, and then I can do all this in 4K. And I've got the microphone interface and some other stuff coming for the GoPro, so I can use that in 4K as well. So it's a little more convenient. I have a really nice 1080p camera that's like broadcast quality, and it was an expensive camera back in the day, but then I'm limited to having everything else at 1080p, which who cares? But I think the video of the meat, when I want to zoom in on it, looks a lot better in 4K. So we'll see how it goes. This is still just an experiment. I'm still learning from everything, and yeah, I'm sitting here on my couch. Yesterday was a long day. It was a 16-hour cook, and I made a Bloody Mary this morning, and I'm just kind of chilling out. So thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you can. If I get 100 subscribers on the channel, then I can actually change the URL to be youtube.com/slash Brew City Barbecue. So I just need 100 subscribers to get started, and we'll go from there. But thanks much, and get out there and smoke some stuff. Have some meat. Yummy, yummy meat.